Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to you all. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar on the Focus of the Month webinar for the month of April 2023. We're very excited to bring you some critical topics which will help you decide which program you're going to be applying to. So, when you think about selecting a program, for example, you're deciding between HEC Paris, London Business School, University of Michigan Ross, Kellogg, etc., it is important to look at various different aspects and parameters, and therefore cost is a very major factor, and also deciding which country or which region of the world you are going to go to is another factor that comes into play, right? So today we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to be having polls like this for it. Sorry, there's a typo there. It just says, can you hear me? And this is HEAR. Sorry about the typo. But yeah, I hope you can hear me and not there me. But anyway, very bad jokes aside, yeah, looks like many of you are able to hear me. Excellent. Thank you so much for voting so fast, everybody. We would like to keep these polls short, and then definitely please ask me questions that you might have in the questions box. So, can you all just quickly type like one question that you might have for me today? Any question or any concern or anything that you're worried about? And so that we can make sure that we are addressing that. But today's agenda is going to be fairly straightforward, and I will talk about it soon. All right, excellent. So I know that many of you can use the questions box, and you're doing it. Well done. Excellent. So you might have heard of me, definitely, and you may have interacted with me during a profile gap analysis session. But if not, do not worry. I'm going to be coming and talking to you during these set of webinars as well as in other times. And I can tell you that I'm quite qualified in order to help you with it, having been part of Association of International Graduate Associate Consultant, of Consultants, AGAC for short. And then, of course, having been certified for college admissions, and many things. Most importantly, I've helped a lot of students over the years, and that I hope is something that I can use for you, right? We do these kind of focus of the month sessions with one goal in mind, and that goal is to help you move forward in your MIM application at any point of time. So what we have done is we've done multiple set of webinars in the past. For example, we started with what should be the test or timelines, or which intake should you be focusing. We looked at the resume. The B school resume is a unique thing, and then last month of March, we told you about how to research on the schools. And today we talk about the two main aspects of regions and fundings. And then, of course, you're shortlisting the B schools, right? Now, this particular webinars, where can you access them? You can access them on the Career Labs course portal. One is through the servicing portal, where you can find it on the courses. Another is directly you can put lms.thecareerlabs.com, and you will be able to get access to the Career Labs course portal, right? So see, when you're logging in the first way, you're going to go to the unified portal or the service portal as we call it, and you can see there's a course here, and then you just have to log in, and then you can just go. This is one way of doing it. Another way is directly go to lms.com and then do it as well. Okay. So when you log into this portal, you will be having every detail about it. You have a lot of videos, handout resources, and everything that is here, and this helps you to follow us along and of course have the information readily available. Now see, we spent a lot of time looking at quizzes, handouts, assignments and everything. Today also you have 4 handouts. I request you to please download it and keep it for later whenever you have a chance. If you don't find it here, do not worry. Once you log on to the portal, you will find the handouts as well. Okay. All right, so with that, let's move on to the outline of this important session. See, first we're going to look at how to understand the regions. See, region is very important in order to decide how much cost you're going to spend. So these two are linked. All right, so we're going to be looking at that. And then we're going to understand the cost. Okay, so here we're going to understand the cost as well as like what are the ways of funding and then the scholarship. Okay, so these are 3 things that we are having. And then I want to tell you, see, many of the MIM applications are coming up in the month of October, round 1. So I want to just quickly tell you about join a school in France application a little bit, and then how can you prepare ahead for the round 1. Okay, and then let me just erase this so that you can see it. Yeah, how to plan ahead for round 1. and then of course, going ahead. Okay, so at the end of this session, right, you have to find out what is the best suited region for you. How can you consider and analyze the cost of attendance, and then also understand the different ways of funding your masters? Okay, these are things that we want you to take away from in today's session. All right, so now today's webinar is going to be for anybody who's looking at an MIM program, anybody who's looking at a deferred MBA, anybody who's looking at any kind of specialized business masters. Now, see, specialized business masters programs are there for people from anywhere between 0 years to 12 years. So all of you guys can watch this. Whenever I say MIM, I mean all these other programs as well, because these are kind of like interchangeable at this point of time, and the process is kind of similar. Okay, so don't think I'm only referring to MIM. Whatever I'm telling is mainly applicable to most of the other programs. And suppose you're going for a specialized business masters, we will be assisting you with it. All right, so do not worry too much about the things here. Now, the program options is something that we keep telling you, and we want to ensure that you have an idea of what are the possibilities that are there for somebody. And typically we go by the work experience. Okay, why the work experience is because work experience is an indication of the level at which you are in your life, and how much quantity and quality of work experience you have also determines the readiness to the program. Okay, so MBA was typically made for people from 4 to 7 years. And what you think of a Harvard MBA or a Stanford MBA is like the MBA abroad. We like to call it that. And then MBA in India through the PGP program, like one is through the GMAT and others through the CAT. Okay, so the GMAT ones are the ones which require people to have work experience. The ones through CAT, NMAT, ZAT, and all those are for people without work experience. So you have to understand that kind of distinction that is there. And then there is something special for college students called the deferred admissions, which you already are aware of, and then of course MIM. So this is for the benefit of those who are joining now. For those who already know it, thank you so much for your patience. And just one last thing. Typically, MIM, MSBA, other entry level degree, you want to be in 0 to 2 years of work experience. Okay, for MBA, you really want to be a 4 and above. So that is a typical way that is there. Of course, we have exceptions, and you might even be one of those exceptions. All right, so this is a slide that you will see every time that we present. And today, what do you think we're discussing? We are discussing which school are you going to be applying to. So because that's a very big consideration, right? To which school are you applying? That is a factor of the region and the cost. All right. Now, another thing you will see in all of our presentations is this way of reminding you of when does your program start, right? So if you want to start your MBA, Masters in Management, MSBA by anywhere between April to September of next year, you need to apply by round one. So September 29th onwards, it starts, sometimes even earlier. October 7th, see, last year JASIF deadline was October 7th. London Business School was September 29th, right? So round one deadlines are going to be in September and October for you. So which means that you have April, May, June, July, August. That's it. You have about 5 months in order to work on things if you're seriously considering the round one. Okay. So before round one, you should take the GMAT, GRE. You guys have worked with us for profile building. We do that very extensively for you. And then of course, starting to work on the application documents. So all of these things have to happen in the next 5 months, 6 months. Of course, you can also apply to round two. Round two is in December, January. But round two would be the last deadline, right? So for those of you who may not have, who are very afraid, who say that there are so many things happening, round two is also a possibility, definitely. All right, but keep in mind that right now, I highly encourage you to apply for round one, and that's what you should be focusing on. See, when you look at the top B schools in the world, all of these B schools in the world have their flagship MBA programs, and they are very prestigious in their respective countries. It is equally hard to get into an ISB in India as it is hard to get into a Rotman in Canada. Okay, so and as it is hard to get into a Nanyang or a Singapore Management University or an NUS in Singapore, right? So you have to understand that these are the top business schools in the world, and there are so many rankings that can help support this information. However, one thing for you to note is that um, not every program is going to offer an MIM. Okay. Or rather, let us put it this way: not every B school will offer an MIM program, and not MIM is not present in every B school here. So, which is where, there are many other regions and everything, and we'll be sharing that with you, and it will also be added in your handouts. Okay. So the first thing, so because like see, there are so many programs and there are so many possibilities that exist. You need to know like what is your preference when it comes to the region. Okay, so when it comes to the region, so we can share the MIM business schools for you. See, for example, Stanford has a deferred MBA program but does not have an MIM. Harvard has a deferred MBA program, not an MIM. Kellogg has one MIM program. Okay, so like that, Ross definitely has one MIM program. Fuqua has an MIM program, right? But some of the others do not have. So like this, you will have to take this one, and we already share this information to you in the portal and as well as the list that we give you. So the first thing that you have to decide is which country am I going and studying, which region of the world. Okay, Hong Kong used to be very popular 4 years ago, but not anymore. You all know why. In terms of things, before the lease with the Britishers got well, it was still valid. Hong Kong was a very popular destination, but now a lot of the companies have moved out of Hong Kong and moved to Singapore and Middle East more. Okay, so now we see that a lot of people are trying to get into those kind of areas. And when we look at this part, you have to understand that when you're looking at different countries, I'm going to keep US as a constant. Okay. Now, the duration of the program can be anywhere between 1 to 2 years in every place. Okay. So, sorry, this is just for the MIM program, it can be anywhere between 10 months to 1.5 years, etc. So, anytime between 1 to 2 years, technically speaking. Okay, and you have to understand about the intake. See, how is the intake in each of these countries? So when can you apply? Okay, most of the times it's fall meaning September. And then sometimes it's spring or winter, sometimes it's January, right? So September and January are the intake times. Typically, in typical countries, give or minus, plus or minus 2 months each way. And you have to understand what are the requirements in those countries, whether it is easy to get into it or not. So example, GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, etc., right? So that is going to be a challenge. Okay, and then you definitely will need to see whether it has another language requirement. See, for example, in Canada you do need French in the French speaking regions of Quebec and all that. Okay, and most importantly, you need to understand, hey, what is the post study work permit that is available in those countries? All right, so that is where it is there. And then when we come to yeah, when we come to the other countries, no, so you just forget the duration. This duration was done for the MIM. It's mostly 1 to 2 years. It is constant and common. Okay. Yeah, when it comes to other places, right? See, for example, GRE GMAT is mandatory in the United States, but in Ireland, Australia, and all, it's not needed. Okay, it's not mandatory. So these kind of things, when you check, you will understand which region is better suited for you in terms of the overall program requirements. Okay, so when I look at a program and I look at it, what do I see? So this is something that is a very quick reckoner for you, and it gives you a little bit of information on what is there. Okay, but that said, only this cannot be the reason why you're going to France or why you're going to Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, Switzerland, etc. All right, so you need know about what are all the other parameters that you have to do when you're selecting a region. So whether you're doing an MBA or any other specialized business masters, technically Master of Management also comes under business masters. Okay, so whether you're doing this, no, you have to understand a lot of parameters, and that is where we, this is something that I hope that you came to my career goals workshop. I do a career goals workshop where we discuss this thoroughly. So if you didn't have a chance to attend, please look at the recording or you please come for the workshop. Okay, so how to select a region based on your career goals is dependent on your personal goals, your professional goals, and your financial goals. So, how do they look like? See, personal goals will be like, hey, what's the quality of life you want? What's the kind of society do you want to live in? What kind of amenities are you seeking in that area? And financial means, sorry, a professional means like, depends on, see, do you want to be a CEO or an entrepreneur in 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line? What is the domain or company role that you want? Is it possible for you to become an entrepreneur or a CEO? Like, do you have the permission? Would you have the citizenship? Okay, and then what are the workplace conditions in some of it? See, it's very important to do it, because, and this is exactly where we have a region specific series. Okay, meaning we tell you like in every region how is easy or hard it is for you. Okay, and then when it comes to financial goals, it's very straightforward. So you have like certain objectives and other details, and then you can, like in terms of numbers and so on and so forth, which you can take up. All right, so now is a good time for you to look at the region research worksheet. This is a live exercise which we're going to be doing very quickly. So, in order to help you decide about your region better, what we did is we came up with a whole checklist and also like kind of a worksheet, okay, which you will see. So, this is a good time for you to please like, say, I'm just going to download just like you. Can you see this region finalization checklist? So, here are some of the quick things for you to remember. Are you sure that this is a good region for your course? Do you have the good career opportunities, internship opportunities when you go there, job opportunities? Are you okay with the language of communication and the medium of instruction that you're having in that place? How is it with the budget? Like, how expensive is it? Now, what do you have in your community? What is it like, a diverse, inclusive culture or not, which is very important, especially when you're going into a new region. And how is the climate? Do you really like it or not, right? So these are some of the checklists that I have. So this is something you can check, right? And there's something called as region research worksheet, which is like basically an Excel sheet, which you can see that is here. I'm going to download the file, because it'll be easier for all of us to work on it. Please download. And once it's downloaded, I'm going to just open it and then share it with you. Okay, so I really hope that you guys are also doing the same with me. And see, it's a protected view, don't worry, I will get it open. I'm just going to open that file. Okay, so just give me a second. I have many windows open here and I just opened it. If you guys are coming to a webinar at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, I am sold that you guys are invested in your process. Okay, so thank you so much for giving us the time, and thank you so much for allowing us to help you out in this. So this is a very comprehensive work done by my team and us, and I'm very happy about this because it helps you to think about regions. So you say, when I say region, what do I mean? You're going to United States, you're going to Canada, you're going to Switzerland to study. Where are you going and studying, right? Now, when you go and study, it's not just going to have a consequence on your short term, it's going to have a big consequence on the long term. Okay, so when you look at the school selection parameters, so this is from last time, in case you guys have not come in the last time, I would request you to please go through the webinar, but I'm going to tell you 1 minute recap here. See, in the last time, what we discussed is the first way of choosing a B school research or doing the research about a B school would be to consider the parameters, right? Both quantitative and qualitative parameters, and to decide what is it for you. So, for example, cost means you're saying, I only have 80,000 pounds. That's all I will spare, right? So, that is a very important factor to you, and you're non-negotiable on it, right? So, like this, you start categorizing the criteria into buckets of what is most important, which is non-negotiable, important, negotiable, etc. All right. So once you do this, then what happens is you can you get an idea of like what is it that you want. Okay. Now to deep dive on it, so you can see that there's a region here. So when you look at this worksheet, there's a region which I'm highlighting. Can you see this? So this is the one I'm highlighting. This part here is what I'm highlighting. Okay, so when I'm looking at the region, how do I know whether I want to go to France or United Kingdom? And when I look at the location of the school, how do I know I want to go to London, right? That is exactly why you have the region research worksheet. So this helps you to deep dive into the region and tell you about like what to work on. Okay, so here what happens is we say that, hey, what is your most recent role? So you could be a student. In that case, you can write about your internship, etc. But whether you're a student or a working professional, you will have what is your goal. So, for example, you'll say, I want to get into Amazon as a machine learning engineer, or I want to get into OpenAI and then work on your AI projects and things like that, right? So, then what happens is you're going to answer a bunch of questions around the location and the facts, like what is it giving you. You're going to talk about, how much is utilities, the living expense, etc., etc. What is the matter in the short term? What is the matter in the long term? See, for example, I'm going to the United States to study, but then I'm going to move to Canada after that. Okay, so I will be in the United States for short term, but I'm moving to Canada in the long term. So that is what we mean by short term, long term. Okay, so like this, there are many parameters here, like along, for you to start considering. Okay, so you might worry, oh, looks very complicated. No, it is not at all complicated. I'm going to show you the the filled sheets out here. So when you click on 5, right, so this is a typical sheet that is exact like possible. So example, this person is a student and they want to get into marketing in so they you could even say that they want to get into cosmetics industry or whatever, and then social media marketing, and so on and so forth, right? So in the short term, they're saying that, hey, Nice is a popular location in France. Okay, it is rich in history, museums, etc. What is happening? So what is the cost of living in that place? Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is something that is important. So, for example, in terms of employment trends, they say French companies generally have strict hiring policies. I'll plan on working for a few years, then I'll go. Okay, like this. So, you are collecting a fact. When I say a fact, what is the fact about the place? And then you're answering a bunch of questions about it. So, for example, I'll tell you about Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor was more of urban. There were a lot of popular suburbs nearby, like Novi, Canton, etc. The amenities were excellent. It's one of the best college towns in this one. And then you had a lot of facilities that were there. And it was possible to find accommodation within close reach of the school itself. Okay, weather-wise, it was tough. Okay, and food was definitely like easily available with the Indian stores and other things nearby. Okay, in the long term, definitely, like, so I decided not to stay in Ann Arbor in the long term, but if I had stayed in Ann Arbor in the long term, I would say yes, I would have moved to Novi, Canton, like how my friends were doing, right? And then, like, it was very easy to commute, and then, and so on and so forth. Okay, I was okay to live in that kind of a weather. Fall is amazingly beautiful there, and so on and so forth. So like this, you start answering the question, because that's the most important thing. What matters to you? Okay. And for cost of living also, you can always do much more calculation and then get an idea of like how to do the cost of our living, etc., and all that. Employment details will be available in that country. All right. So sorry, I wasn't speaking. I was just like muting myself for a minute, and I'm back now. So like this, for every country, you are going to make some amount of like information about it for yourself. And what we have done is we have done it for a few countries here. So you can definitely see that. Sorry, like yeah, you can see it here. So we have done it for France, and then long term is also France, study short term in the United States, work in the United States, and so on and so forth. So we have done it for a couple countries here in order to give you an idea of like how to do this research, how to carry on this research. Okay, so it is, see, for example, it's very important to understand. See, for example, in the long term, here it states it may take several years to get legal residence in France. Okay, The process of obtaining permanent residency in France may be challenging and competitive. The process involves various steps such as obtaining a long-term visa and all that. Okay, and now see, language to fully integrate into the French society, you need to know French. Sorry, I was just again on mute. Sorry for a second. And yeah, I'm back here. So, like this, what you have to understand is in each of these countries, right? I'm looking at France here for an example. There are going to be short-term considerations and there are going to be long-term considerations. And it's important for you to understand what it is. And only then will you be able to decide about which region to go. All right, because see, just like how there are quantitative factors, see, example, location means, when I say quantitative, it's more of factual everything. See, when I say location, the location is closed, right? So you do have like one particular country or a place or something, and it's very fixed. There are many things that are fixed about that place. When I say qualitative, see, when I say cost of living, there's a number that you can associate with it. When I say employment opportunities and trends, you know which companies, which kind of regions, okay, what kind of amenities can you expect, etc., etc. So these are quantitative in number. When I want to know how long is it going to take for me to get a permanent residency in France, I know how long it will take. Okay, so that is why we put it under the quantitative bucket. And in the qualitative one, it's more of what do you think is the quality of it? What do you think is a culture? It's very subjective. So what we have done is keeping it subjective versus objective, and then of course helping you with the sample. So here this is a sample that you're seeing, and I'm just showing it to you here. You guys please download the handout. The handout is right available in your webinar place, right? Here itself, like in the sorry, webinar section here under handouts. Okay, so this is what you're supposed to do. So when you look at preferred region 1 and 2, you say, hey, this, I want to go into France, I want to go to United Kingdom. You are going to be working on these aspects over here. All right, now coming to the B school research, right? Now what happens after that is you will have a B school research worksheet that comes later. So after you have decided on the region research worksheet, so after you've decided, you know what, France is better, Netherlands is better, Finland is better, Australia is better, etc. After you've done this research, you can go and plug this information into the B school research worksheet for yourself later. So for example, once you've decided, hey, I'm going to go only to France or then I'm going to go to UK, you can only look at programs in that region. All right. So that part is the region research worksheet. We have tons of important information for you for this. All right. So we have the region specific series or the study abroad country specific series where we tell you how is it to study in the United States of America, how is it to study in Canada and in France and in Europe, and we're bringing more and more countries there. Okay, so you can please look at it and then also get a better idea. All right, and this is something that I showed you already right now. Next comes the important criterion of cost. I can't tell you the number of people who tell me, hey, cost is going to be a factor for me later. All right, see, many people say that cost is not a factor, but trust me, when it comes to the last point, cost of attendance is one of the deciding factors for them, whether they're going to a program or not. Okay, I told you MIM programs can be anywhere between 10 months to 1.5 years to even 2 years, right? So you can see the difference, right, in many of these. So the tuition fees is going to be expensive, but it's much cheaper than an MBA. Like many of these programs will be around 40-50 lakhs easily. Okay, and then when you look at the food and all that, no, this is only the tuition, by the way. So then you have to have the living expenses, your insurances, your personal experiences, etc. So the overall it becomes a little expensive. in terms of, close to a crore or 80,000 and more. You might want to consider Europe, and a lot of people do consider Europe, because look at the difference and the cost amount, right? So Europe and France and some of even the other places tend to be a lot more cheaper than the United States of America. So which is another reason why people do consider the other programs. So when I say cost of attendance, what it means is, it means like whatever amount of money you're going to spend during the master's program, everything will be considered under the cost. So that is what we mean by cost of attendance. Okay, I'm extremely proud to share with you the financial planning and research worksheet right now. Okay, so see, again, this worksheet is for your reference and to make your life easy and to know that you know how to do it and what to collect. Trust me that there are thousands of calculators online, etc. Oops. I'm just gonna check what happened to my battery. Sorry, 1 minute. All right, just give me 1 second, folks. All right, so I'm back. Okay. Thank God the battery didn't die on me before that. All right. So we have again a very important document to share with you, and you're very proud of it. Okay, there are instructions to start with. Okay, and there is an information sheet which tells you about like all the information that we are presenting here in today as well, which can help you to understand the finances. There are a lot of scholarship details which can help you understand like what are the different types of scholarships and other things that are available. There is a cost calculator which tells you how to go about the cost calculation. There is a sample cost calculation where we have shown how much does it take, okay, for an actual school. So this is what you have to fill out. See, for example, for University of Michigan Ross Ann Arbor, and it says that it's about 56,000 things and so on and so forth here. Okay, so so this part is like important. My mom doesn't. And you can easily find the information online for this. I'm going to show it to you in a second. Okay, but see, you have a cost calculator, very simple, plug in the numbers, it will do the magic. All right, and once you put the conversion factor, everything is like kind of linked. You just have to, it gets automatically done. All right, and then of course you have a ROI calculator. All right, ROI calculator tells you about how long does it take for you to pay, how much cost of attendance is there, how much do you pay, how much is ROI. And suppose you are a person who already has worked and you're employed somewhere, and then this is something that you can take up. Okay, so this is a very easy calculation, very simple, straightforward calculation, as you can see. So this is Ross School of Business, and you can see that there's only so much money here in terms of tuition fees. Tuition is your biggest pie, and then how much money does it take for the application, the loan fees, your international student fees, okay, and then your food costs per semester. Okay, and see, suppose you're there for 2 semesters, you're going to multiply by 2. Most Indians are able to like really like spend and make sure that their food and everything else comes under $1,000 a month. Okay, so these figures are quite reasonable, and all of them are taken from the website. If you don't believe me, I'll just show you in a second. 1 minute. Okay, I know you believe me, but just I want to show you. Okay. So how do I find the cost of attendance of anything in the world? Is, yes, nowadays you have chat gpt, but you can also definitely have our friend here for google in order to help you, or your bing or whoever it is, right? So anyway, look at this. When I just put cost of attendance for the program that I'm searching, and immediately you will have it here. Okay, so you may not have it in the way that you should, and I want to show you. You might find a little bit of this one, but you get the ballpark. See, the actual amount will come to you only when they release what we call as I-20 or an equivalent form, which gives you all the breakdown of how much is going to cost you. But you will definitely get a ballpark of how much around it is going to be, right? See, at the end of the day, you want to understand like whether it is like $100,000 you're paying, or is it going to be like $40,000 you're paying, right? So you want to understand the range. So for that, you get information automatically here. See, you are a non-Michigan resident, therefore the money is going to be so much, and this is some other extra fee they have, and this is some other fee that they have for the international student. So much money for the food, housing, personal expenses, etc., etc., and all that. And of course they have more information. Okay, similarly, let's do this exercise for London Business School MIM program, and then the cost. Everybody will tell you like how much does it cost overall. Now the split may be available to you only after you get an admit letter. Okay, so at that time you can still fill it up and then keep it. But everybody will tell you like how much is the cost that is available. By the way, cost of attendance will include everything, right? Like how I showed you, it will include everything. So when I say everything, what does it mean? It includes your all the kinds of expenses that you're having: housing cost, food cost, textbooks and supplies, your computers, and this one, medical insurance, visa fees, even flight cost that you are traveling. So some of them might travel back and forth if you have the chance. Mhm. Transportation cost, etc., etc. So you can break it down as much ever you want and keep on adding more things. But at the end of the day, what do you have to remember? You have to understand, you know what, it's going to take you about $100,000 to go to this MIM program, or 85,000 rupees, sorry, 85 lakhs. Okay, when you're looking at a conversion rate of 81.83 as of today. All right, that's all you need to know. So this is the number that you will plug in. If you guys remember, I had my B School research worksheet, right? So here I will come and put in that, $100,000, or in INR, or in euros, or in whatever that you want to keep. Okay, so that is how it works. All right. So the region and the cost are very important. And then the industry research worksheet is something that we discuss very detailed in the career goals workshop. Okay. So that is another thing which tells you about how much money can you expect when you are joining the program, right? So after you graduate from the program, how much money can you expect from the program? So these are the factors that will go into your B School research worksheet, and this is how you do it. So once you've decided these three major factors, which is very critical for everybody, the rest of the thing is very easy to do, and that is how you shortlist the programs. All right. Okay. So I'm going to give a quick recap. So when it comes to cost of attendance, you have a cost of attendance worksheet, which we call as a finance and planning worksheet, because it has everything in it. It tells you what are the different types of funding, etc. I showed you a ROS and schema on the sheet. Here I'm showing you the Kellogg MSMS program, which is very clearly, told. Okay, so that they say that it's going to cost so many dollars, right? It's going to cost about sorry, 94 or $95,000 approximately. Okay, so like this you want to really do it, and the cost of calculator tool is very helpful. See, you have to understand one thing. When it comes to, for example, let's say that you are getting $90,000 in different places. This is what I mean by cost of living. Okay, now when we say cost of living, right? So if you have a family of four and you're earning $90,000, it is actually low income in the Bay Area. Okay, because your taxes itself will be close to around $18,000 something, when I'm rounding off to the nearest thousand. Okay, so you only have like very less money, and your rent itself will be very high, and your groceries will be very high, and all your other things will be very high. So the money that you're getting in hand is going to be dependent on the region. See, think about it. In Mumbai, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, right? All these places, it's very expensive to get like rental places and all that. In Bangalore, though, it is very is double now, no? Especially given the current situation. Okay, so like that, depending on where you go, if you're going to Paris, for example, um, if you're going to be living in London, and so on and so forth, it becomes very expensive. So you have to understand that even though $90,000 in India looks like very, very nice, it is not the case. Because same way, like for example, if I'm earning 1 lakh in Mumbai, I'm earning 1 lakh in Bangalore, it's not the same, right? It's going to be different based on where we live. So that is what we mean by cost of living. Remember, there was something called as transportation cost and rent and everything else. It is going to change as per the city. All right. And this is something that you need to remember. And this is just given for your reference here and your understanding. Fine. So one another thing to remember is you can always like work part time up to 20 hours in many of the countries. So that is something that is there, and you can also earn, and then internship also will give you good enough money, right? And now when you look at Europe, UK in particular, you have other things that are happening here, so which will give you like an idea of like how much it is and so on. Okay, so how do you maximize the ROI? You have to pick the right school for yourself, which gives you all the things that you want out of it, and you have to pick the suitable funding option. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the funding option in 2 minutes. So this is the ROI calculator which I told you. See, one is for students because you may not have a job, another is for working professionals, so they might have a job already and they might have like a salary that they have, right? So they have to leave the salary and then come and start for the MIM. Okay, so when it comes to funding, there are multiple ways that are possible. So when it comes to self-finance, obviously through your own funds, your parents and your other family members who are willing to give you the money. Then internships, assistantships are nothing but teaching assistantships, research assistantships. So both of them are available. For business school, more teaching assistantships might be like common, but it is hard to get. Okay. And of course, I told you about on-campus work that you can do where you can earn about $20 an hour or something, and then you can also work. So this is something. This is all merit. Okay, all of this is merit based on your skill set and your ability to get that role. Now comes the loans. Loans though anyone can get. Okay, so some of them are with collateral. Collateral meaning that you have to. So for example, I want to get a loan of $10,000. I have to give something to the bank, or like pledge it against an asset. Okay, so I have to say, or let's say I want to get a loan of $100,000. Then I have to say I have a house. I'm going to give you let me take a loan against this house. So for example, if I'm not going to be in a position to pay, then they will take the house away. So that is collateral. So there are loans with collateral, without collateral. So with and without collateral is the loans. That are two types of loans that are available. Okay, so which you can think about. And then again, scholarships are merit based. They are very, very tough to get into, but it's not impossible. Many of my candidates who go into master's programs get scholarships and assistantships a lot. It's because of the kind of profiles they build. Okay, so these are three things that you have to remember. See, obviously these things are very easy. Now you can always get it from a national bank. Then there are something called as NBFCs or non-banking financial corporation. See, in order to help the people better, what we did is Career Labs has worked with multiple NBFCs and we've come up with partnerships, and we want to offer you the multiple partnerships, and we are showing. So this is what I told you. All of them are merit based. Okay, so you have to understand that you have to have certain abilities and skill set in order to get this. And when it comes to the loans, right, the NBFCs are more popular these days because they provide what we call as non-collateral loans. And so you guys saw, right, to get into Kellogg, you need about 78 lakhs. How do I get the 78 lakhs? right? You may not have a collateral enough for it. For example, I want to take 78 lakhs. My house may not be of 78 lakhs value. So at that time, we need something called as collateral free or non-collateral rolls. Okay, so that is what is there. Now you can get loans from a bank, like example your SBI and everybody else. You can also get it from a bank abroad in the country where you're going. Now there are many banks who have tied up with the schools itself and they'll give you, and there are many enrollment funds and the loans that are there. Okay, so now we have paired up with Incred, Prodigy Finance, and then Credula, and then of course Oxilo. But there are many of them. So when you're looking at it, you have to know what is the amount, how much is the collateral, what is the interest rate, what is the processing fee, how long is this loan for? Okay, are you eligible for it or not? So some of them will say that, hey, look, you need to be an Indian citizen, and then your co-borrower must have a check facility. Okay, you need a proof of admission before you can apply to this loan, right? And so on and so forth. So there are many details that are there, so which is why we have the education loan FAQs handout for you to peruse at your own time. Okay, so when you have a chance, please go through this. So we tell you about like what are the changes, how does it work, which course do you follow, this one, right? A lot of information is available here. Okay, so this is for your benefit. We request that you please go through it when you get a chance. All right, so one main thing that you have to understand between a bank and an NBFC is that on a bank, right, you have certain amount of things, like for example, only certain coverage will be there. So for example, they're not going to give you the entire loan in banks. How do I know? I took my first this one in a bank. Okay, and they had very high interest rate, and they did not give me the entire amount. So I had to use my own funds and my father's funds in order to do it. Okay, long time ago. But NBFCs are different. They give you the full coverage. So if you want 77 lakhs, 78 lakhs, they'll give you the entire 78 lakhs. Okay, so we will be doing a lot of webinars of this NBFCs after you guys have done your admit in. So for example, we do a lot of these webinars for the people who who are going who already got in, got admit. So do not worry, you will get a lot of information about it. And then you can also take international loans versus national loans, right? So this is something you might wonder, hey Kritika, I have not even decided which region I'm going, which program I'm going. Why should I think about cost? Because cost is one of the major factors. So without having the money to go and study, you can't study, right? So that is the reason why you should think about all of this even now when you're starting your planning for your this one. So that's why we call it the financial planning that is needed. Okay, so there are many things that you have to consider when you're looking at a loan, and you should think about what is the coverage. So when I say coverage, some of the banks will provide only say for example, your national bank will only give you tuition fees. They may not give you money for the study material, or say for example, if you have to buy a laptop, okay, or if you have to travel for a field trip or something and you need the money, they won't give you that. Whatever money they'll give you is only for tuition. So remember that $54,000, they'll only give that much. So then what are you going to do for the remaining about $30,000 that you need for the accommodation and everything else, right? So that is where NBFC comes. NBFC gives you everything. All right, now there are school specific loan providers in that school itself. That is also something you can try. It gives you like better interest rate and other things. So every school will have a tie up with another loan provider. So this is also something that you can avail. Okay, and scholarships is super important. We ask you to start looking at scholarships now itself. Many of the external scholarships open up in the month of January to March. Okay, and that is something for you to keep in mind. And then of course there are many independent scholarship resources like this. All of this scholarship information is available in your financial planning and research worksheet right now. Okay, so when it comes to scholarship, it's merit. Okay, so it is not easy to get a scholarship. It is very hard because there are so many other people who can deserve a scholarship and actually do. There are many criteria which also come into play. So for example, if I want to apply to a certain set of scholarships, I need to satisfy certain criteria. Example, if I want to access the Forte Foundation scholarship, I should be a woman. Only then I get that scholarship. So like that, you have to be from a specific background. You should work in a special field, or you should have a certain background, your ethnicity or gender. Okay, and definitely good credentials and achievements, are important. Okay, so many of the scholarships you'll be writing separate scholarship essays. Okay, my tip to you, do not rely on scholarships. If you get it, amazing. If you don't, do not worry, because a lot of them don't get it. Okay, now when you take a loan, be like aware of like what is included and what is not there. You have to set your financial goals for yourself. So for example, if you're going to be spending $100,000, you need to use the ROI calculator in order to find out when are you going to get back the $100,000. So are you going to get it in 10 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? So that is something that you have to keep for yourself. And then of course you have to maintain good credit, otherwise you'll be kicked out. All right. So that was about how can you decide on a region and how can you decide on the cost that you want to spend for your business school. Okay. I want to tell you about join a school in France. This is a way by which you can apply to 5 different schools in one particular application. You don't have to apply separately to each school, and the GMAT is taken into account for all these programs. Okay. So it's a very straightforward procedure, and this is the selection process. Why do I recommend it? See, for me, if you guys have picked up a 3 school package, right, I can ask you to apply to Audencia, ESCP and Schema separately. So for me it will be better, right? But no, why am I asking you to go to this joiner school in France, which allows you to apply to 5 schools together, is because it allows you to the flexibility, and it reduces your applications, right, that you have to send. So there is no difference between you applying separately to Audencia through its application portal versus going through Joiner School in France. In fact, you save a lot of money. So which is why we tell you this, do this. Okay, so if you're looking at France and France is on your list, try to put the Joiner School in France application. And it also requires a stringent thing. Now, the good news is that you're going to save a lot on the application money. So because like see, each of these universities at least will have 100 to 125 euros. Okay. And with that said, I want to tell you about a case. Okay, so this is a person from a very good college, and then had a very different program. They didn't like what they were doing and wanted to go into an MIM program. Got a very good GRE score, comparatively speaking, right? And their percentile was very high in verbal and as well. So these were things that they had in their profile. Okay, so they applied to join a school in France, right? And they got into like all of these programs, right? Where they got into it. So they got invites to HEC Paris and even M Lyon, but they got rejected in the last round. So and then they got into ESCP and ESSEC, where they chose ESCP as a better school. Okay, so this is like an example of how you see with us. See, they had signed up with us for 3 schools, right? Using the joiner school in France application, they were able to apply to 7 schools with us, because of this application. So that is why even I am telling you, apply to this if it's something that you are there. How do you know if you're ready for round one? Is you have to finalize your career goals, you have to take the GMAT or the GRE as the case may be, and shortlist the programs. And today we looked at how can you shortlist the region under cost, and then of course recommenders and go on and so on and so forth. So note that it's going to take you time, and you guys have the perfect time now. So if you start doing anything today also, very well that you can do everything by September. Okay, so that is there. All right, so I have couple questions which I forgot to ask you guys, like just tell me about couple things here. Okay. Okay, excellent. So a lot of you are trying to go to Europe. Okay, very nice. So how much do you guys will spend for an MIM or a deferred MBA? All right. Okay, very good. And how ready are you guys? Like, so which are the things that you've already done so far? Very nice. A lot of you are saying that, hey, very good. Okay. So which loans are you specifically considering? Okay, very nice. All right. Last question would be is when are you planning to take your GRE or the GMAT? Are you done? Okay. Let us know about which of the ones did you find interesting today? Very nice. And I promise that there's one more question, but before that, right? This is something that I talk about even in the previous webinar. You have to really, if you want to know that, hey, let's say that I want to go to London Business School, right? You have to picture yourself there, and you have to understand what are the current students telling, what are the admissions people telling, how easy or hard it is for me to get into it, how can I visit the campus virtually. You have virtual campus tours, so you don't have to go there, no, obviously. You have the virtual tours that are available, and then the colleges and universities that will be there. Okay, so these are things that are very important to you. And see, this is something that we tell you through the LinkedIn workshop. Now, the LinkedIn workshop is only possible once you get your CV done. So please come to that workshop. Okay, so and we'll be in a position to share that with you as well. Um, so when it comes to career labs, there are many options, and I already told you about some of these options. So keep in mind that you might get better interest rates and other things through these portals, and once you go through career labs. Okay, so if you're interested in considering any of these, please reach out to us, and we'll be able to help you further. All right. So one last question before we go, and some questions that you have asked us is yeah, one question here is like, can I start the GMAT now and still apply? Absolutely. You have 4 months, more than 5 months, right? Actually, you have enough time to do it. So there's no need to worry. And so another question is like, hey, I don't have so much money. What do I do? Right? That's exactly why you have so many options like these. All right. There are a lot of my 70% of the people who go with us take a loan of some sort. So it is common. So do not worry too much about it, and then, like, keep going with it, right? So with that, thank you so much, everybody. I really, really appreciate you coming today, and I hope that you will join us for the next Focus of the Month session. We have this on the calendar, so we tell you like when the Focus of the Month session is happening. So please do join us, and that can help you. So wish you a very um, all the very best for your selection on your region, and of course understanding the cost better for your B school. All right, so next week, sorry, next month, I'm going to look at sharing details on how to shortlist programs. So that is like the most important thing, right? So you have to decide like what is the five set of school, or the set of five schools to which you are applying. So we hope to come and present the Focus of the Month session for it then. Till then, please work on these worksheets, and good luck to you. Thank you so much.